I call
Mr. Speaker.
Parmjit Pama.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to speak on the third reading of the Local Government Auckland Council Amendment Bill number 3 on the name of Alfred Naro. Mr. Speaker, I'm taking this call to support this bill. Having seen the process members' bills go through, I have to say that Alfred Naro is very fortunate, first to have his bill drawn from the ballot and to see his bill go through the parliamentary process. And I am the final contributor on this bill, so I want to congratulate Alfred Naro for this. Mr. Speaker, I see that this bill was considered by the Local Government and Environment Committee, and the committee recommended that this bill be passed with some amendments. Mr. Speaker, I'm not a member on the Local Government and Environment Committee, hence I missed the opportunity to hear submissions. But when I read through the submissions, I see there were 17 submissions. One submission was in 2 parts. Overall, 10 submissions supported this bill, 5 submissions supported with some amendments, 3 submissions opposed this bill. The interesting common thing in opposing submissions was that those people are on local boards, more than one local board. So obviously, Mr. Speaker, those people opposed this bill, but the majority of submitters supported this bill, including the Auckland Council. Auckland Council supported this bill, which is a very important thing. Auckland Council supported prohibition of local board members to be on multiple boards at the same time. And as my colleagues have already spoken about the importance of local boards, especially, Mr. Speaker, in Auckland in super city structure, local boards have immense importance. And it's really important that they are effective, they are able to deliver results for ratepayers, and they are working in a fair manner. And it's very important for us to see that the representation is fair, the representative practices are improved as and when possible. So this bill is to fix a loophole in the current legislation that allows an individual to be on more than one local board in Auckland Council at the same time. So this is about accountability, this is about priorities, but this bill is very fair, Mr. Speaker, but because this bill doesn't stop anyone from standing or running for more than one local board. So yes, a candidate can run for more than one local board, but what they will be required to do according to this bill is they'll be required to provide a written notice to the electoral officer about the local boards that they are running for. They will also be required to provide the ranking in the order of priority. And Mr. Speaker, they will also be required to provide that information in the candidate profile statement. So I think this is a very fair process. This is great because, yes, it's their right, people's right to stand for local boards, and they should be able to stand for as many boards they like to. And that member who spoke before from that side, Mr. Speaker, about equal opportunities, this is about equal opportunities. So no one is stopping people from running for as many boards they like. And this is also about freedom of choices, Mr. Speaker, and this is also about personal responsibility, because this is about being transparent. Because yes, while people have the right to stand for more than one local board, ratepayers need to know where their loyalty is. So it's about being transparent from the start. And if that candidate gets elected for more than one board, then, Mr. Speaker, that candidate will be a member on the board that is ranked as his or her highest priority. And he or she will cease to be a member on any other local boards listed. And then those boards and local boards will operate as if he or she never stood. So, Mr. Speaker, as the central government is responsible for taxpayers, local government is responsible for ratepayers. There are expectations from local boards. They are the voice of ratepayers. And Mr. Speaker, what I have experienced, this is not once, but many times, that sometimes it's hard for the members of public to differentiate between the roles of the local council and the central government. And this hasn't happened to me once, but many times. Just last weekend, I had a meeting in Mount Roskill. These attendees, Mr. Speaker, some of them, they asked questions which were more to do with the local council and not the central government. So I want to urge local boards and local councils to make ratepayers more aware about their roles, because their role is really important at local level, and ratepayers should know what their role is so that they can ask those questions to local representatives on their local boards. Mr. Speaker, since Auckland became super city, the importance of local boards is also gone up. And it's important that local boards are able to act in a fair and consistent manner, leaving their personal interests aside. And as my colleague Scott Simpson before gave an example of someone standing in two electorates for a member of parliament, it can't work, Mr. Speaker, and similarly it should be applied to local body elections too, so people should not be able to stand for two local boards, because if we look at our local board, it's just a mini unit of our democratic process that we have in our country. So, Mr. Speaker, it's about fairness, it's about accountability, it's about loyalty. So, Mr. Speaker, there can be many reasons for conflict of interest when people stand for more than one local board. People I know on local boards, Mr. Speaker, they work really hard. Some of them, they have full-time professional jobs and they are on local board too. Local board work is seen more like a part-time work, but I know that chair's role can be close to full-time role. So it's a huge commitment. It cannot be taken lightly. It's a huge commitment for their local ratepayers, and we are very keen to see that our system is delivering for both ratepayers and taxpayers. And as an Aucklander myself, Mr. Speaker, I'm really keen to see that the super city structure is functioning well without putting excessive burden on ratepayers. And it's important that people have trust in their local board. And as government, Mr. Speaker, we are very keen to see that all sectors, private, public sectors are working well. Government at different levels is working well. We want to see businesses are doing well. And these things need to apply to us and to local government too, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's similar, because this government is like a business, because we are running schools, we are running hospitals, law enforcement, and many other sectors.
Order. I'm now going to invite the member to go back and speak to the third reading of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have been talking about the importance of members staying on one local board in Auckland Council, and why they should not be standing why they should not be on more than one local board. And Mr. Speaker, when I'm talking about the government, that is local government I'm talking about. So things which apply to central government, why they can't be applied to local government. So there are responsibilities where the central government is delivering, and similarly we expect things that the local government should be able to deliver too. Local boards, they have huge responsibilities. They have to manage their budgets. They have to manage their local facilities, their events, parks, input to CCOs, economic development plan, their board planning, Mr. Speaker. So there is a huge expectation from local boards, and that role cannot be taken lightly. So we want them to be fully committed to the board that they are standing for. But yes, they can stand for more than one, but once they're elected, they have to be on the board that they have indicated as their highest priority. Mr. Speaker, the important thing is about fairness to people. People should know that the person who is there in the board to represent them is there only for their board, or that person is standing for more than one board. And that is about transparency, and that transparency is needed from the start. And as I said, Mr. Speaker, that even the Auckland Council supported this bill. They said that they suggest that elected members should be able to sit on one local board only at a time, and support the proposed amendments to the LGACA to reflect this. This would ensure full representation in all local board areas. Candidates should still be able to stand for several boards, but would have to choose which board to sit on if they were elected to more than one. So, Mr. Speaker, this bill received a huge support. It's a great bill. I support this bill and commend this bill to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye.